Hey, welcome to video number 222 of Walker This Way with Hazel Walker, the queen of all things.
Conflict resolution and networking.
These days, 100% conflict resolution, for sure. Wow. So, Hazel, now we're back. You're back in Indiana. I'm still here in Vancouver.
You can tell by my bookcase, right?
Yeah, it's the Indiana bookshelf. It's back. Hazel, you know where I live. You've been to my place many times. You've had dinner with us and hung out. And you know that I live over a street. Well, kind of I oversee a street, Pacific Avenue in Vancouver.
Yeah.
And there's two lanes that go the same way, right? It's a one-way street. Both lanes go the same way.
But there's also that bicycle and walking lanes.
There's bicycle, yeah. And what we see a lot of times, especially when it's really busy, is someone's driving and they're like, I don't like, and they go to change lane, and then they either get an accident, they get harmed, they screw things up badly. I'm like, why don't you just stay in your lane, man? Like, if everyone's in the same traffic, just stay in your lane. And then you talk about conflict. And a lot of the conflict we deal with is kind of like the traffic. The conflict in BNI, I mean. It's kind of like the traffic outside my home. It's just not staying in the lane.
Not staying in their lanes in many ways. Sometimes the leadership team members don't stay in their lanes.
Right.
And when we say to a membership committee, you're the person that oversees all applications, that doesn't mean you do all the work, but it is your responsibility to manage it. And if you're the person in charge of conflict resolution, that doesn't mean you turn that over to someone else. That means it's your job. That means doing your role. And if you're the communication coordinator, well, the education coordinator shouldn't be doing the communication coordinator's job, right? Staying in your lane. And sometimes you just get people who, and there's more ways. There's also members who don't stay in their lanes, right? That cause conflict.
Yeah.
Right. So they have a tendency to do this, and it causes lots of conflict. So as leadership teams are now being selected, which I used to say this all the time, we are not a democracy. We are not a democracy. I am your benevolent tyrant. That's the queen of networking. But we're not a democracy. We were actually a selection. Our chapters select who are the best people to go in the role. And we used to, I will tell you, when I was a member, we actually did elections. And what was happening was we were putting the most popular people in roles that they really weren't qualified to hold.
Right.
But they were popular, so they got all the most votes, right? Which is kind of like what happens at school. So it became a selection committee so that we really pay attention to who's going in what role and why, because there's certain behavior styles you wouldn't put in that role, or certain behavior styles in that role. There's certain people you don't want in some roles because they don't have the time. Like they're an employee and their boss doesn't want them taking that much time. So you put them over in another role. But then there's all the senior members who have held many of the roles, and they get back in the role, and then they start curving and going into other people's roles. And when you're a senior member, and by senior, I mean you've been around a while, like founding members and things, and we have a lot of those in both Indiana and BC. Your younger members are going to listen to you, and they're going to let you take control. Mm-hmm. Instead of them doing it. And then what happens is we have burnout. Like I got 2 vice presidents that are done. Like they're done because it's been a rough year for them. They're just done. But it's also because they're doing everything. They're not using a membership committee. Because when I talk to the membership committee, they're like, oh. They're not only not in their lane, they're just not even participating.
Right.
So it's critical to stay in your lane, and it's also critical because it's one of the things that help us with conflict resolution. You need committees that can listen and give advice, and that is the role of the membership committee.
Right.
They are the conflict resolution, or If it's a cross-chapter issue, they can send it to the regional conflict resolution committee, right? If it's a cross-chapter or if it's too emotional, something like that. But sometimes, Mark, it's the leaders who step in and try to do everything that it causes hard feelings, and people don't know where they belong and what they should be doing. And then when there's a problem, no one knows who to go to and how to handle it.
Yeah, I think so. The two roles that we have, and this has been for years, not anything new in any way, shape, or form, that we have. I guess the biggest challenges with going outside the lane are, number one, president. The president runs the meeting. We have a lot of presidents just by nature of the word president.
Yeah.
President would run everything, but not in BNI. They run the meeting, but a lot of presidents feel like, no, I run the chapter. It's my chapter. Which I love taking ownership, but it ends up working against them when they take that.
They're actually the meeting chairperson.
Right.
They chair the meeting.
Yeah. But there's a lot of presidents make these decisions for the entire chapter, and I'm deciding when we're doing this and having all the visitor days and what we're going to do, and no communication. We're like, no, just run the meeting. That's it.
Just run the system. Let the system protect you.
And the other one, as you were mentioning, is VPs for years.
Yeah.
VPs, because they want to do a great job, but they don't delegate very well. And they have a whole membership committee that has roles to do. It's actually reverse. It's the membership committee that kind of runs everything. The VP is there to tie break those kinds of things and
yeah, absolutely.
Guide. So I think the recommendation really is, we have the videos that we put up. It's on our page. It's on the newsletters. It's on our YouTube channel. Is why take on a role? But we also go into great details about what the roles, what the roles do. What are the roles? If you want to take on a role, look at what the role does and look at what it doesn't do. Because if it doesn't do it, don't do it.
If it's not on your list of things to do, because we've created a list for everybody, here's all your things, then don't be doing it. Find out whose responsibility it is and make sure they're doing it.
Right.
That's your job. Make sure they're getting it done.
Yeah.
However they're getting it done. Don't try to micromanage them. And that's a big piece of it. It's really comes down to, some of us are micromanagers. Right. And that's hard to give up. And it's so much easier for your chapter when they know everyone's role and everyone is sticking to their role and doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah. When I work with in my consulting gig, when I work with companies and working with people, and they say, well, they have people that they've had working with them for a long time who aren't doing their jobs. So why are you keeping them? But a lot of times they may not know the job, or they may not be allowed to do said job because, my particular client is taking over everything. Well, you got to let them do it, or else why have them?
Right.
And pay them if you're not going to let them do the things they're supposed to do.
And if everyone's in their role and they're paying attention to what's going on, that whole part about members stepping on the toes of other members,
yeah,
that can be quickly resolved by a membership committee that's being attentive.
Right.
They can easily come to you and say, Mr. Simmons, you are the business coach, not the real estate agent.
Right.
And you may not discuss the real estate in the chapter again.
Right.
And that is a simple, easy conversation versus now I've got someone that's had that happen multiple times and it blows up, right?
Yeah.
That's because no one was paying attention. And if you're in your role and you really own it and you want the best for the entire chapter, you pay attention to everything that's going on and then hold people accountable.
Yeah. And so with that, to all you listening, you might think that, wow, that's a crazy idea. We don't want to say it because we don't want to hurt people's feelings. Well, Hazel and I will let you know that we have many chapters whose membership committees go, no, that's not happening. And they reach out right after to the members who are going out of their lane as far as that goes. And you know what? Everybody survives and is still happy and respects each other. There's no chaos in the world. It's okay to do that.
Fix it quickly. Fix it while it's a little problem. Fix it quickly.
Exactly.
Then it gets to us.
So the big message today is really take on a role 100%. That's how BNI works. But stay in your lane.
Yep.
If you delegate, BNI is a system. It's clearly laid out. While in BC and Indiana, so are the roles. We've clearly laid them out. We have a website for it. And
remember that you are a team,
yes.
and there's no I
Uh-huh.
in team. So everybody would be in their lane.
TIIME. Isn't that how you spell team? There's two I's in there.
That's a time.
Oh, sorry. Yes. There is no I.
Time.
And reach out to your consultants, your chapter consultants, director consultants. If you have any questions, they're all here to support
And
you.
they have to stay in their lanes too.
100%. 100%.
Right?
All righty. When you come out of your lane, if you're a car, it causes an accident. We don't want accidents.
Or if you're a pedestrian and you walk in front of that bicyclist.
Right. Stay safe, my friends. All right, Hazel Walker, until next time.
Bye.
Bye.